masters, masters, masters of change.
Hello there. My name is Kim Corneo, and I'm the head of music at the Australian National University, and I'm here to introduce Masters of Change. Masters of Change is a series of episodes that my good friend Charlie Hogg and I give to you as an offering. Charlie is the director of the Brahma Kumaris in Australia, and it's a pleasure to speak with you again. Hello, Charlie.
Hi, Kim. Great to be back once again.
Well, we've been having a lot of fun about balance. Isn't it funny how you can say the word in a second, and maybe in 5 minutes you can get the basics of it? But what we're finding is it's more than a knack. It's a lifetime of discipline to be balanced. But yet if we hold it as a discipline like that, maybe we've lost the game. How come it's like that?
Because I think often we become we sort of, how in life you think, oh, this is the balance I need. This much time for me and family and whatever. But life isn't so prescriptive like that. You just have to go with the flow and sort of see what is required at any given moment. That's what I love about balance. When you have the fundamental tools, when they're there, you're constantly rebalancing, so to speak, to fit situations and people and responses. So it's a sort of, you have the tools, and those tools enable you to go with the flow and apply what balance is required at the right time.
Charlie, that's really beautiful. and apt for today's episode, because we're looking at a balance within a balance. It's like if there's a constant desire to be more balanced, because we know that's how we can self-care. But yet there's two great things. There's action and inaction, or being and doing. So I want to firstly ask you for some definitions. What is being?
Being is a spiritual state when I'm aware of who I am, and on the basis of that, I create an inner peace. And I'm aware of my one relationship that's permanent. And on the basis of that, I feel belonging and connection. So I'm being. It's almost like before I even think of action, I'm full. Because I've created peace by knowing the self, and I've created love by knowing God. It's like I'm spiritually full. So I'm coming into action with a full state rather than doing an action to fill inside, which is the culture of today. I'm empty, so I want to do an action, so you give me that love. Or I get praised and I feel peace on the basis of the praise. The problem with that is I never know whether you will love me, and so I'm not getting my needs fulfilled. So spirituality is being in a state, I fill up, and then that being colours my actions. But often body consciousness, which we've been talking about a lot, I'm into actions. I do because I want to get the being or the feeling as a result or an outcome of doing an action.
Charlie, I love that, because it's like all of us, we all need to recharge, don't we?
We do.
And if we don't recharge, it's like each day I'm going, maybe on day one I have 100% energy, but day two I might have 96% energy. And suddenly 3 weeks later I'm on 70% energy because I'm not being enough. Is that how it is? Is it something we can be deficient in our sort of quotient of being?
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, I think, Kim, because the more, the paradox is, isn't it, the emptier you become, the more you do action, because you want to fill the gap, the emptiness. And it's almost like the more exhausted you get and the less you're being. So, actions are wonderful. To me, actions are the expression of being. It's like when you're being love, and then you perform an action in that state, and your actions are coloured with love. When you're being peace, and that actually makes it a quality action. It's not so much the action itself, it's the energy, the consciousness, the spirituality behind the action which gives it beauty.
That's so nice. So what you're saying is that if we just put this simple time into it, the results will be quite profound and possibly even quite quick.
Yeah.
This is an amazing thing that we often think that we have a chronic problem that is unfixable and we might need lots of medicine or lots of time or 6 months off work or whatever it is. But what you're saying is simple habits transform the self.
Yeah, they really do, Kim. And I think that law of sort of being in a state and then performing an action. And the incredible thing is, let's say you're being love and you perform an action and it's coming through you. Usually the recipient of the action will feel that love and they will bless you back with love. So you almost build in a cycle of, you know, as they say, the law of life says, if you want love, give it.
Charlie, I'm very excited by what you said because the one thing I hadn't got to yet, which was really in my heart, was the word love. Because it's sort of like, to me, being is like growing love.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, you know, we're being and we have a garden, we have an inner garden. And just by being, our capacity to love others will inevitably grow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a miracle.
Yeah, it is. And it's the reverse of the culture of the world, isn't it, Kim? And I actually remember as a child, my older brother, he'd always come home from school and he was a musician actually too. He would lie on his bed for probably an hour and just be. He would just process, that's the way, but it used to really frustrate my mother. And we used to talk about it because the feeling is that when you're doing action and producing, you're of value. And if you're just being, you're not of value. But what we're saying here, that being is a huge value. It's actually, the value is in the being. And when the value of being is there, the quality of actions are much higher.
You know, I want to go on a small dalliance because at the ANU we have a very interesting research project at the moment with an organisation called NIDA, the National Institute of the Dramatic Arts. And we're looking at neuroscience and creativity together. And what the neuroscience has found is exactly what we are talking about. If we want to be creative, if we want to solve problems, we need to be more. So it's very, very interesting that we're talking about something that is validated in cutting-edge science, that the human brain, when it is allowed to be, becomes more stable, the hemispheres balance, and people feel better, and they're able to go stronger into the world by doing something less. I mean, it's ironic, isn't it, that to really achieve in the world, we need to do less.
Well, along with that research, Kim, I think is, when they research meditation, they say there's sort of 4 brain waves: beta, alpha, theta, delta.
Yes.
Now, beta is when your mind's overactive. You know, when you think, I've got a lot to do, and you're really spinning. Alpha is the sort of between waking and sleeping. There's alpha 1, you're a bit tired. Alpha 2, alpha 3 is when you're really almost asleep. Theta is sleep, delta is this deep sleep. And all the research shows that the lower your brainwave, if you can get into the theta or delta, you make the best decisions. And when they even say that when your mind's really overactive, you're in the doing mode. Doingness is, you don't make good decisions, you're not that objective at that time. And the more, if you meditate, then it's exactly in a way, you go back into that being state, you see more clearly what actions are required. So, but it's a beautiful dance, isn't it? Because I find if, you're in a being state and out of that state of meditation, the peace and love colours your actions, you do an action. And then those actions actually enable you to be more peaceful in your mind. So karmically, it's sort of you're doing actions, quality actions that don't disturb you, because if I get angry with someone, that action really disturbs my mind. And for months, if sometimes my mind is really in a state of upheaval because of my behaviour.
Charlie, this is quite profound, I think, because maybe there's a childhood version of spirituality that we all sort of learn through popular culture, which is, if I want to be spiritually happy, I need to distance myself from the world, from others, because they will inevitably hurt me. So I need to go and face a cave and meditate and just look at the agony of life or something like that. But what you're saying is the dance is really from being, we then do an action, and over time the action will become more noble, more centered, more loving, and then that feeds us the confidence to keep being. So really it's like the old yin and yang, isn't it? They're a tree together with two sides.
Yeah. It's, when you were saying that, Kim, I was thinking that if you look at the sort of history of spirituality, you know, often I think it's been a conflict, this being and doing, and that's why if people really want to be spiritual, they cut off from mainstream society, they go into convents or up to mountains. But what we're trying to do is have the highest state of being in amongst a complete life of action. And actually, I think that's really what spirituality is. Spirituality is, you know, sitting in the morning having this highest consciousness, which then colours my actions throughout the day. And so I think most people love their work, they love their family, but it gets to them sometime. And so we bring together your spiritual life and your other life. It merges, rather than feeling, well, if I want to be spiritual, I've got to leave that. No, you actually just change your mindset and you take it into your daily responsibilities.
It seems to me also that being is like our insurance policy to not get seduced by the glamour of life.
Yeah.
You know, by our stage or our state, because it can be really exciting when someone says, you know, you're so-and-so, or here's $500, or whatever it happens that makes us feel really excited. But that will pass so quickly if we're not careful.
Yeah.
So really what you're saying to us is that being is this constant investment in our future.
Wow.
You know, that you've said it so many times in our conversations, that the future is made from our actions right now.
Yeah.
It's a profound teaching, everyone, that Charlie's given us.
Yeah.
So can you give it again?
Well, Kim, I often feel that being, giving time to your soul, your spirituality, your relationship with God, is blue chip investment in the future. Because, you know, in a recent episode, Kim and I were talking a little bit about death, and that we accumulate all this stuff in life. We own so much stuff, and in a second that goes. But what does go with me is my actions. I carry forward the quality of my karma, my actions. And so the real investment in life is good actions. And you know, we have a mutual friend here, Kim and I, Roger Cole. And Roger's a person who, palliative care physician, deals with people when they're dying. And I've often heard him say, when people are dying, there's two things on their mind. What sort of person was I, like a self-assessment, and how did I treat others? And as Roger says to people, no one's ever said, God damn, I wish I'd worked harder. You know, like we push ourselves, we rush, we run. But ultimately, the account I'm left with at the point of death, when I really assess my life, is who was I? What did I live according to my truth? And how did I treat other people? That's like the self-assessment that we're going to carry forward, which if I'm alive and I'm aware constantly, you know, am I living according to what I believe is right? And am I treating other people according to that? That's a good measure of sort of being in a good state of consciousness.
You know, Charlie, when you were saying that, I was also thinking about that, you know, magnificent research really started in the 70s about near-death experiences.
Yeah.
And when people have that experience, it's like the world slows down to a crawling pace, and they're given time. It's like a gift from God to really survey their whole life.
Yeah.
So in 2 seconds, someone, you know, people have spoken about the fact that they get to re-experience the highlight package of their entire life at the end in order to make sense of it. So if that is the case, surely we need to be investing in that quality, as Charlie said, quality of thoughts. Because the actions, no matter how hard we try, unless we stop to look after ourselves, we will get it wrong, sadly. Is that true, Charlie?
It is, Kim. And the way you said that, and I think you said yesterday that recently, that sort of spirituality is like time out, isn't it? To really give time to me and just refine that place where I'm in the awareness of what's important. I ask myself that question, you know, because often our priorities are, you know, all skewed because of my lack of self-respect and the need to accumulate. But I feel one of the things of spirituality, when you come back to the essence, you can see what's important, what should I be giving time and energy towards. And it's clear, it's absolutely clear. You answer your own questions. I mean, I find that a lot when you meditate and you're in that really sweet space, you just are clear what I need to do, what I need to change, how I need to respond.
Yes, Charlie, and sometimes the biggest problems slowly dissolve away, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
It's like the devoted love we have for God can slowly chip away at this mountain. It's like an edifice of hatred or stubbornness or anger or resentment. And slowly it chips away, and at first we see nothing, and then we turn around and it's gone.
Yeah.
I've heard this story from people whose lives have been transformed so profoundly through simple meditation. And I'm sure you have, Charlie, too.
Yeah. Numerous times. And one of the things I really love in my life is that when people really start, a lot of people love these ideas, but it's like a hobby. But when I start to practice them, really apply them on a daily basis, their whole face changes. And you know how they say the face is the index of the mind? It's almost like I just sit up here in the cockpit and this face will mold to my consciousness, basically. And I've seen some really hurt and sad-looking faces that just begin to morph into these incredibly calm. That is, to me, one of the most beautiful things. And I've seen some faces change dramatically as the soul starts to sit in and begin to realize, actually, I'm an eternal soul. I'm not a temporary body. You know, that sound, and we can say that in 5 seconds, but that is such a deep truth which transforms everything happening inside of me.
I couldn't agree more. And even though we can say it in 5 seconds, we could say it 50 times.
Yeah.
Because it's like we have to keep teaching ourselves this self-evident truth. That everything can be okay if we invest the time and we make a grand effort. Charlie's saying is that the transition from hobby spirituality to a lifetime of spirituality, it doesn't happen by just sort of rolling out of bed one day. It happens by consciously getting up every day.
Yeah.
And so we have to actually bring a seed of, it's compassion for ourselves, isn't it, that funds it, you know. We know we'll be happier, but we have to say to ourselves, just as we would make an effort to get to work on time, we have to make an effort to care for ourselves. Because when you were talking a while ago, I had a flash, and it was a science flash. It's the laws of thermodynamics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So if we are not being careful of the laws of the universe, the physical laws, the spiritual laws of the universe, we are working at our own peril, aren't we?
We are, we are. And really, I think that, you know that thing where you begin to meditate, you have some good experiences, and you know, you fluctuate a bit, so you think, I should, I must, you know, so that's not coming from the heart. What I feel the way is that when you attain, you want to. It's like you want to wake up. Sometimes when I go to sleep at night, I just hold the thought, I'm going to wake up and sit with my lover, so to speak. And you know, when you wake up, that's that one thought, the whole feeling of just, rather than the mind going, what do I do today, or this might happen, yesterday this happened, I connect in that direction. And it's like, you even look forward to waking up and and sitting in silence in that way. You know, when you were just saying before, Kim, about, this whole process, I was thinking that it's easy to know this stuff. You were talking about practicing rather than just believing. It's easy to believe, but the effort is transforming it into an experience. But when you experience, you attain, it just becomes a natural thing. I just feel it's just so natural to wake up and meditate. It's just I don't even think twice. I've been doing it for so long. But it fuels, it's the foundation you sow the seeds in your mind of quality actions throughout the day.
Now, in a minute, it's my favourite time of all the episodes. I have to confess that it's great to talk about meditation, but we can meditate and the talking is then not so important, even though you give beautiful commentaries. But I just wanted to say to all of us that it's okay if you haven't been meditating, and if you go, oh, I did it and I stopped, better to do 2 days, have a break and do another 2 days than say, I'm not good enough, I didn't do it for that month, then I shouldn't meditate at all, it's all or nothing. So, because that's just an inbuilt, especially from Charlie, who I've seen teach for so many years. He's so encouraging. Like 1 bit is better than no bits, 3 bits is better than 2 bits, 10 is better than 9. So please, dear friends, don't ever feel that we have to be perfect straight away.
Never, ever give up.
Yes,
that's right. That's great, Kim. Lovely. So let us finish our discussion with some reflective thoughts. So wherever you're sitting, just move away from distractions or devices and reflect on these thoughts that are being offered. Each time I meditate, I'm producing the highest quality of thoughts. Thoughts are my most precious belongings. And each time I create these high quality thoughts, they sustain me internally. But they are also the seeds of actions. The power or effect of an action is the consciousness it's done in. And a spiritual person designs a life where I wake in the morning, I meditate, I create this high quality of thinking. And then throughout the day, my actions spring out of these thoughts. Each action comes from an elevated seed of love for God, self-awareness, internal peace. And when I perform these elevated actions, they bring me power. They bring me inner strength. So meditation is really the process that takes me into elevated thinking, which becomes the foundation of elevated actions. And then elevated actions are recorded back in the soul. This elevated karma gives me strength. When I'm performing actions according to my truth, I feel powerful. So meditation is for life. Meditation is for action. I sow the seeds of elevated thoughts. And those elevated thoughts of joy, purity, benevolence will color all my actions and my behavior throughout the day. Om Shanti.
Dear Charlie, what a beautiful commentary. We've had a very interesting discussion today, I think. And we hope all of you who are watching and listening have received some of the blessing, because being is the essence for us. We can sit in this essence. That's what Charlie has said. All of us from today on can be more. And from being more, our actions can be more conscious, more caring, more loving, and they can then inspire more being. So rather than one becoming less over time, they will grow together, and it's like a beautiful dance that Charlie has told us. We can enable this doing and non-doing, being and doing, to come together in a sacred, beautiful, loving life. It's our wish that each of you can do this more in your life, that you can be and do and help yourself and others. So to all of you, all our love. Om Shanti. Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks again, Kim. Goodbye. Thank you.